We start off from Parliament, and the minority is blaming the NPP government's decision to abandon the Conti project aimed at constructing drains in Accra for Monday's floods. Well, they are also asking the Minister for Works and Housing to provide a fresh blueprint to deal with Accra's floods if it has decided to stall work on the Conti project. The $300 million project commenced in 2013 and was expected to construct drains across the city to help stop flooding. Ranking member on Parliament Roads Committee and the Member of Parliament for Adaklu, Kwame Agboja, fears the situation could worsen in the coming days.
I'm very disappointed, but also predictable. Why predictable? Because a few months ago, I dragged the Minister for Works and Housing, Honourable Atachan, to Parliament to assure the nation that the government is taking adequate steps to protect us from the effect of flooding in Accra and other cities. His answer was basically, to summarize it, to say that their budget is very small, and indeed that's true. And the budget doesn't get released appropriately as well. That there was a project called the Conti project, which was not completed, which is also true. But the sad thing is that he never gave us any indication as to what they are doing to implement the Conti project as it is, or which amendment they want to make to that project and implement it, or what they were going to do in the interim to mitigate the effects of flooding. So, I mean, I think I spoke to you guys and I said, what it basically means is that government is saying, without using their own words, that they are going to do nothing, that when the floods come, Accra will be flooded. Sadly, that is exactly what is happening. And I'm very devastated and disappointed. Governments are supposed to take decisions that ordinary people can't take. It is the government's responsibility to sort out the problem of flooding in Accra. It is not the individual's problem. Yes, I agree, as individuals, we need to play our part by ensuring we don't throw solid waste into gutters and other things. But the gutters are not even there enough in some locations, even in their right sizes and other things. So it's very sad that this is just the beginning of the rain and we have started seeing this. Sadly, I can't say anything positive going forward because I can't see any blueprint by government to deal with the flooding of Accra.
And still in Parliament, the minority again is asking the Inspector General of Police to investigate the former director of the Dankwa Institute, Gabi Asare-Ochridako, for his role in the alleged faking of the national identification cards of some minority members of Parliament. Well, they also want the police to investigate presidential staffer Samuel Brian Boabing for the same act. Pictures of the cards were circulated on social media over the weekend, days after the minority announced it is boycotting the registration process for the NIA's disallowance of the voter ID card as a means of verification. The NIA denied printing the fake cards. Minority member on the Communications Committee, Samuel George, says the Speaker's office has also been petitioned to look into the subject.
The NIA over the weekend has issued a disclaimer saying that they didn't issue those cards. However, those cards found expression on social media, first on the pages of the cousin to the president, Mr. Gabi Asare-Ochridako, and the presidential staffer Samuel Brian Boabing. I mean, we need to be clear in our minds. Is this a state-sponsored attack on the NIA, where you are seeing state-sponsored elements begin to print national ID cards without the consent of the NIA?
And you are certain that their pages were first, is the spot where they first emerged? They may not have picked it also from somewhere.
It is up to them to go and explain that to the police. We saw the pictures and images first from their pages. And once we saw them first from their pages, they're the ones we're putting together. We've put together all the evidence that we have, and we are furnishing the Ghana Police Service with it. And it's up to the police to do the investigation. All we are calling on the Inspector General of Police to do is that we know that we have a cybercrime unit in the Ghana Police Service. They should pick this investigation up seriously, because, I mean, it's not just because these are members of Parliament, but to have the data of Ghanaians being picked up, and a critical national issue as the Ghana card, to have it being printed on the blind side of the NIA. I mean, what it portends for us as a nation going forward is very dangerous and very risky. We've also served the Speaker of Parliament, asking the Speaker of Parliament to commence an investigation in-house, because it appears that the data that was used in those fictitious criminally produced cards appear to have come from Parliament. Parliamentarians' data ought to be protected. And so we need to investigate and see what kinds of protocols is the House of Parliament data protection compliant. We have a data protection commission. Are we compliant? What's the management of our data? How is that data being protected? So we're asking the Speaker to also look at that.
So have you sent the petition to the police already, or you know about doing it?
As we speak, the petition is in transit to the police.
And essentially, you're asking that Samuel Brian Barbin and Gabi Ochedako are investigated for their roles in issuing...
They should explain the source of the cards that they've put out, because the NIA says it's not them who printed those cards. So since they are the people who have circulated those cards on social media, they should inform the police how they came by those cards or the images of those cards.
Brexit school children have been challenged to champion the conservation of forest resources to save the environment from depletion. Senior research scientist at the Forestry Research Institute or the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Dr. Gloria Jani Jagbekte, says there's the need for collaborative effort between locals and students in tree planting initiatives in a bid to grow the forest cover. She says Ghanaians should not only plant trees but also ensure that they grow to maturity if any meaningful impact is expected to be felt. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin has more in this report.
The tree planting exercise organized by the Forestry Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, is part of the Council's climate change sensitization program for the schools. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, the world's forests continue to shrink as populations increase. FAO's Global Forest Resources Assessment in 2015 estimated about 129 million hectares of forest, an area almost equivalent to the size of South Africa, have been lost since 1990. Several researchers have proved that forest degradation is held responsible for 18 to 20% of greenhouse gas accumulation in the atmosphere. It is one of the reasons researchers at the Forestry Research Institute of Ghana have initiated Plant a Tree Today, Save a Life Tomorrow project.
The adage goes like, charity begins at home. We decided to start with schools within our catchment. With tree planting, we tell the children that you can't just plant the tree and leave it. We plant and we care for it so that the tree will grow to be able to provide us with the goods and services we are looking for, we want to enjoy.
Anglican MA Junior High School at Fimisua is one of the beneficiary schools in the Ashanti region. School children were taken through the need to stop deforestation and the fact that the rainforest will completely disappear by 2040 if destruction of the forest continues.
By protecting or conserving or preserving it, they can also present it to generations after them.
Some of the students share their experience and what they have learned.
I learned that we should keep the trees safe so that when we grow up, we can go to Parliament and then fight for the trees. And then I also learned that the main causes of the trees getting damaged or broken down is lightning, sandstorm, illegal mining, which we also know as galamsey.
I've seen many species of plants and other species of animals, insects like butterflies here, and their scientific names.
Forests contribute about 1/6 of global carbon emissions when cleared, overused or degraded. When managed sustainably, they have the potential to absorb about 1/10 of global carbon emissions projected for the first half of this century into their biomass, soils and products and store them.
Well, let's turn attention to some politics. And the Progressive People's Party has expressed shock over the minority MP's opposition to the use of only passports and birth certificates as the primary document for the registration of the Ghana card. According to the National Policy Advisor for the PPP, Kofi Asamoah, the minority at the committee level agreed to the exclusion of the voter's ID and the driver's license as lists of documents for the registration of the Ghana card. Speaking to my colleague, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, he accused the minority of sabotaging the registration process.
We We are completely shocked, and we see that as a complete disservice. Maybe it's in their DNA not to get us on the path of proper development.
But of course, Kofi, the minority is not kicking against the entire process. In fact, I've not heard the minority saying that Ghanaians should boycott the process, but they are saying that for them, they represent a constituency, and so they wouldn't register whilst their constituent will not have the opportunity to also register.
Yeah, but that's what they're saying. So they are boycotting the process.
Yeah, so they are boycotting the process.
Yes.
This is not about.
Yeah, and they campaign, and like you said, you are campaigning to your constituents not to do so. And don't forget, they are leaders of this country in their own constituencies, national level, in parliament, and so on and so forth. So if you lead an army and you tell them that don't go left, go right, are you doing that, issuing that command in the national interest? In our case, no. They are doing a disservice to Ghana, especially when that command has no basis. They don't have any legitimate basis to cry. They are crying. I'm saying to you, if the only legitimate concern the NDC has is that voters' ID card has been excluded, they were in parliament, they forced or helped to include, if you like, exclude the voters' ID in this case. They have an agenda. They have an agenda. It's an ulterior agenda, dangerous to the political stability of this country, and they should discard that mindset.
And what do you think the agenda is? That to sabotage the effort of the NIA?
They don't want an organized society. Otherwise, why would you come and put a stop at this exercise? Why would you campaign against it? It's the fundamental. You don't want that you create a forest and people are running helter-skelter. You don't catch anybody, and people do commit crimes, hide here and there, and all of that. If they want to protect that kind of constituency, they should say so.
Accusation and allegation.
Yeah, but that is important. If you don't do that now, when would you want to do that? So if something like that is supposed to be done 10 years ago, in fact, the idea was mooted 17 years ago. If I were a member of the minority, I would be running to go and get the card done. Because 17 years, just imagine somebody's pay doesn't come over 17 years. So what is fundamental to our progress and our development? They should commit to it.
And that's it for the latest news update. We have a lot more news. As we review the newspapers, we'll join my Kojo Yankson. We'll look at what the critical stories are from, center spread, as well as the back pages of the various newspapers. We'll look at myjoyonline.com and then also bring you the other online portals, the others. But please watch us regularly on YouTube through a channel there, My Joy Online TV. Excitingly, you can also give us your comment on Facebook, JoyNews on TV. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll do a review of the newspapers. We'll bring you the latest update from the World Cup, and we'll do AM business. Stay on.